Hey guys, it's Leesh, and welcome to another episode of Car Confessions. Guys, what? Listen, I am just leaving work. We had a faculty meeting, and I've actually been off since last Thursday. We got out early, and then we've just been off, the President's Day holiday and all that. So I've been kind of chilling at home, but back to the old grind today. That's the thing about, coming back to work after a long break, at least this particular break, and I think this time in life, it's just like I'm good at home. I'm really good at home. Like I don't need to work, but I do need to work because I gotta pay these bills, right? So it's just, yeah. So yeah, back to work and just trying to get back into the old routine of everything. But I'm telling you, that being home really, it just really just warms my soul. Like I don't know if you're a homebody like me, but I like being at home. I'll go out. And I know people are like a lot of people that follow me on social media. They're like, "Man, you're always going somewhere." And I'm like, "Yeah, I do a lot of things outside of my house. I will admit that. But is it my preference? No. I'd rather be at home. I prefer just being at home. And I used to be a person that would host a lot of get-togethers at my home, and that's changed a lot for various reasons. One, with COVID being what it was at the time, it's got into the routine of not having people over. And then, you know, you also get to a point where you start really evaluating what's going on in your life. Like, do I need to do all these things? And just everything, right? But I do miss having people over, having get-togethers. Will that happen again? Maybe. I don't know. TBD, right? But how are you guys doing? What is happening? What is happening in your world? I hope everything is great. Hopefully you are doing the best that you can, given that the world is just, wow, it's a lot going on. But I'm not here to talk about that. One thing I did want to really process, and I'm still trying to understand and process. We had, like I said, I just came from a meeting at work, and we were talking about the effects of AI, artificial intelligence, in the educational setting. For those of y'all know, I work in school. I'm a school nurse. And it was really interesting listening to the presenter talk about the ways AI can be used or is used in educational settings. And then also talking about the abuse of it, the dangers of it. Like there was just so many things. It was a very interesting conversation. And it was what really stuck with me from that actual meeting the presentation was the fact that this whole thing with AI um, can be good and it can be very dangerous. But I think it depends on how you utilize these systems. And, a lot of people had different feelings about, you know, incorporating AI into the classroom setting. And the presenter, while she was not like gung ho about AI, she definitely said that, it's everywhere. I love the analogy that she gave. She was like, it's like glitter, right? When you throw glitter around, it's like no matter how much you clean it up, it's still there. Like somewhere you're going to find it. And it was just like, that is a very interesting way to look at that. Because listen, y'all, AI is everywhere. And it was very nuanced, particularly in the early stages of like us utilizing things that were automatic generated. Am I saying that right? Auto generated. Yeah, auto generated. What do you call it? Text, how like, you're texting or you're writing an email and it's like thinking for you before you actually type whatever. And it's wild how a lot of our texting, a lot of our email uh, that we're doing these days can be actually done in that way. But I mean, that's been for a while. So there's that, right? And then she also kind of went through how, because someone asked the question, that's what it was. They asked the question of, you know, does, how does AI, how did they say this? How does AI actually generate funds. Like, how do they actually make money off these platforms? And she was, and the how she explained this, I was like, wow, this is crazy. So back to what I was saying, how platforms like Google, and Apple, and all these big corporations have created these automated systems by way of texting and email. They've also created their own platforms that feature an AI, like a chat GPT type of approach. So like the Gemini that you'll see, that's like with Google, I think. Don't quote me, but there's a chat GPT. Obviously, there's Google. She talked about a platform called Compass that I didn't even know about. And then obviously, she mentioned DeepSeek, which we all know there's like one of the more recent platforms like this. But she said because these platforms are created through big tech companies like Google and Apple and stuff like that, it's that freebie that you get from any type of marketing approach, right? So it's like you get the freebie, but then you use like their bigger platforms, and that's where all the big money comes in. But these things like ChatGPT and DeepSeek and Gemini are the freebie of the whole deal. I was like, oh wow, that's really interesting, right? And then it also leads you to thinking about things like artificial intelligence, as we've seen it with generating like voice cloning, and also with your essence, like who you are as a person, and creating these types of ways of putting that type of image out of a particular individual or whatever. And it's just like, wow, like where are we going with all of this, Because someone even raised the question around working and the either advantages or disadvantages of having AI. And of course, same thing. It was a thing of like, it's almost a wait and see approach, because he brought up this particular professor or teacher rather, brought up the whole idea around, oh God, remember Yang? I'm thinking, I'm losing his actual first name, but he ran for president. Remember Yang? So it'll come to me probably after this whole podcast episode. Let's be serious. But anyway, and how the thought around providing a certain dollar amount, like monthly, to citizens to supplement like income because of possible technologies taking jobs from humans. And what would that look like? Would that be something to that again, revisit? Because if AI is going to actually come in and potentially take jobs, what would that look like for humans that need to live, need to survive? It's all interesting information, right? It's a lot of things to think about. And here's my thing. I'm wondering if this is where we, at this point in time, where we are now, if this is where people were during the Industrial Revolution, right? And different major moments in history where the world completely changed by way of some new technology. You know what I'm saying? Because I can't imagine, and actually we know this to be true, if you know anything about history, that during those major shifts in human evolution and how we produce things and how we work, there was a component of fear. What will this look like for us moving forward? Particularly in the Industrial Revolution, like all these different machines, and the idea of machinery taking the place and making work and things easier. There was some fear behind that, because it's like, okay, what do we as humans then do? How do we make it work for ourselves? How do we take care of our families? And I think we're just in that new phase of that all over again. I don't think, in my opinion, and this is just Leesh in my head processing and knowing what this human experience has been like so far, I don't think we'll be completely eliminated. I just think we will be required to do something different maybe than what we're used to doing as it relates to work. And maybe some jobs will kind of stay the same or be changed either for the good or for bad, who knows, but it won't be what we've seen for the past however many years, what we've been used to and expected of as that particular profession or skill set or whatever. It is interesting, and I think given everything else that's going on in this country, there's so many unknowns. And on a global scale, not just the United States, like, forget us. I shouldn't say forget us, but you know what I'm saying? Like, this is affecting so many people all over the world. It's a thing where we have to be mindful of these technologies and use them as ethically as we can. You know, not everyone's going to do that. I mean, let's be serious. I mean, people are not, you know, people you know, you have good intentions with certain things. Some people have bad intentions. You know, it is what it is, right? You know, that's the balance in this human experience. And I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it's another huge question mark that we have to kind of like deal with at this point in time. There's just there's so much change. There's so many things happening, and you know I say this a lot, but I think in these moments when we're faced with so much change, you just have to find ways to ground yourself and just know that whatever change is going to happen, it's a part of this whole process of living and being and you know doing in this world. I think the resistance to a lot of change can cause a lot of harm as well because evolution is what it is. That's one thing that is constant is things evolving, things changing. Nothing stays the same. Nothing stays the same. And as hard as that is to wrap, you know, some of us for us to wrap our heads around, it is what it is. Like that's just life. And I remember when I worked in the hospital in Evansville, Indiana. And I remember when there was the shift from paper charting to electronic medical records. And for those of us that worked, you know, at that time, this was huge. Now, keep in mind, there were other hospitals that had been using electronic medical records well before we had, you know, made this major shift. But on a national scale, for the most part, most hospitals were still using paper charting. So this was huge. It was huge for you know our hospital, and you know this hospital was a pretty you know it's a pretty large hospital system. So to really flush that out and not just flush it out, but just you know push it out and make it work for the entire hospital system, there was a lot of pushback. There was a lot of pushback. There was a lot of fear. I just remember that. I remember even hearing some of the nurses that I loved who, you know, they were old school nurses. They're used to paper charts. They're used to, you know, all the orders, everything on paper. And so the fear of, you know, how does this even work? Where am I going to find this? You know, da 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 da, you know, and if you're not a computer savvy person, especially back then, we're talking about like 2000, what's maybe 2010, something to that effect. You know, I mean, how many people, especially older people, were really using computers like that? Not many. Not many. So it was very interesting to, Lord, side note. Here's the thing about people and driving. I talk about this every time I'm on here. These people in driving here in New York is beyond me. I mean, just no turn signals, just whatever. But anyway, yeah, so like the idea of using a computer system to document your health, um, you know, your nursing notes and all this different stuff, and to look for your doctor's orders, and you know, to you know, communicate. Period. With pharmacy, with whoever, like everything is we in on that system. Like it was just like, how was this possible? And now we see this is just an everyday thing now. And I feel like this is going to be similar, this whole AI experience to some degree. I don't think we're going to be completely eliminated. I do feel like it will be something that will be used for, you know, generating information. And I mean, it's used now for that, but it's also finding and figuring out, is this information even factual? Because another thing that she mentioned during this presentation was the idea of, you know, a lot of these safeguards have been removed, and you know, because you know of what's going on in our current climate here in the country. A lot of the safeguards in terms of, you know, ensuring information that you receive is factual. A lot of those things have been removed, and so you have to really be diligent on making sure what you're actually taking from these systems is reputable, right? And they also mentioned the idea around these systems being racist, which I was like, whoa, what? And really causing, well, yeah, it is causing harm to Black and brown people, and marginalized groups as well. Oh, this thumbs up thing. If you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see my thumbs up. Yeah, it's a really interesting time that we are living in, and I think it's a continuing conversation. How does AI, how does it integrate into our lives to be more of a benefit than um, something that is going to be terrible for us moving forward? I don't know. Who knows? But I think, like I said, if anything, just ensuring that we're using it in an ethical way, as best as you can, and to understand that it's here, like it's been here. Just how do we move forward with it? So many things, guys. So many things. Oh, tag there on my scarf. I got this keffiyeh a while back. I love it. It's interesting when I wear it because one, you can't really tell it's a keffiyeh because it's all black. But then when people notice that it is, certain people they'll like, they kind of give me that look, and I'm like, yep, it's a keffiyeh. Chill, whatever. But I do love it though. It keeps me pretty warm. I love it, and obviously supporting the Palestinian movement. How could I not? And like I said, I've been wearing it for a while. I think it's the first time I really acknowledged it, obviously because my tag was out. But yeah, I digress. But anyway, guys, the future is beyond here. It's been here, and we just have to keep moving forward. And like I said, moving forward as ethically as possible, and in ways that we're not causing any more harm than that's already out there, right? All right, guys, I made it home. I go upstairs and throw some food together for my peeps. And like I always say, y'all, let's just keep on keeping on. I love you, and I'll see y'all next week. All right.